Hi guys, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery, and I'm located in Van.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Highland Heights, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
Started. Okay, we're
Okay,
live.
we're live.
In the flesh.
In the-
Becca's right here next to me.
I am. I'm wearing my pot swap t-shirt because we started pot swap yesterday, even though it's actually dirty and I didn't realize it this morning.
You got some flour on it from the pasta.
Yeah.
How was your pasta?
Really good. It was so much easier to do.
With
Easy?
a machine.
Because you actually have the tool
with a
for
machine instead of at your house with a rolling pin.
Yeah. It tasted great, though.
It did taste great. It tasted about the same. So.
Was it kind of the same sort of what we had? Or was it like really thick, wide noodles?
I feel like they were like medium thick. You know, they weren't like, we were having spaghetti, so I was trying to make them like a little bit smaller. But let's introduce you. Okay, we have Milissa and Eric Beale of Beale Pottery. How
do y'all introduce yourself?
Hey, guys.
Like to introduce yourself.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Hi, I'm Eric Beale Pottery.
Let's start with this. How long have you guys been doing pottery, and where are you located? And what are you currently like? What's your shtick right now?
Well, let's see. We've had our business for about 8 years now. And we're in Westville, Indiana. And, you know, it's kind of a split between classes and workshops and then, you know, production time. So.
We've been doing pottery a lot longer, though.
Oh, yeah. I started in high school. I never really stopped. I had my little treadle wheel when I was like 16 years old and slowly up from there.
Yeah. And Milissa, when did you start doing pots?
High school as well. My freshman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you all meet at that time? Did you already
No, it was later. I was teaching a class at a little studio in town, and Milissa came and signed up. And that was like 25 years ago.
Yeah. 22 years ago.
Wait a second. Who was Eric like? Wow.
It was just like Ghost. It was just like Ghost.
It was just like Ghost?
100%, yeah.
So she was the really skilled one and you were kind of like fucking the pots up, or?
I was the dead one.
He was the dead one. He was the dead one. Were you fraternizing with your students?
I was all the time.
No. I took his night class. I walked into the studio and saw him, Danielle and I. You met Danielle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we took his class at night, and she was married already, but I had a crush right away.
So that's how it happened.
What's that?
Was he a good teacher?
He was a great teacher.
He still is.
Yep, he's a great teacher.
She went pro after that.
I mean, look at her now. So, you guys obviously you're married. If you haven't caught on by now, they're married. And can you kind of like talk about your dynamics of like who does what in the business that you guys have?
Yeah, it's super easy. I throw pots and then Milissa does every single other thing.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. You've been taking on a lot of the glazing responsibilities, though.
Yeah,
so
keeping the studio going and clay prepped and classes and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when you said the business is 8 years old, did you mean you started selling 8 years ago? So like you've always cranked out pots and you've always been selling them since then, or?
Yeah, it was a lot smaller scale. You know, it started off just like Christmas present, Christmas time stuff, and then we're like, oh, maybe we'll try to do a show here, there, and it kind of just grew steadily until it took over our old house, and that's how we ended up in the new place in Westville, because there's just no room left. It was like basement and garage, and Christmas would come around and it'd be folding tables in the living room, and on the 3 seasons, the whole deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So were you always both working in the business, or was it primarily one of you and then both of you came on board and were like solely focused on it, or like how did it grow in that sense?
There was a little while there where after I stayed home with the kids when they were little, and when they got, what's that?
How many kids do you all have, and like what's the age?
Three kids. Here's Mila.
Mila!
There's one.
Yeah, 16, 18, and 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when they were old enough to be in school and I found myself like needing something to do, I've always sewn as well. And I love alterations. And I started working for a local bridal company, and I was sewing formal wear, bridal gowns, and mother of the bride dresses, the whole bridal party. And at some point I branched out and started my own business doing that. And it was growing and going well. And I needed a bigger space. And we kind of just sat down and tried to figure that out. And Eric said, we really miss you at home. Like, he was supportive for anything that I wanted to do, like to grow that business, but said, let me throw this out there. Like, why don't we try to sell pottery again together and see how that goes? Like, really give it a good go. And so that's when we started Beale Pottery.
And Eric's, up until last year, Eric worked at a mill. What kind of mill?
It was a steel mill, and I built scaffolding there.
Yeah.
Scaffolding. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So very hands-on, very labor-intensive.
Yeah. It's awesome when you're 25, but you start pushing 40, things get heavy. It's hard to climb, But I was out there. I did that for 22 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And he quit that last year so they could both do it full time all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then Milissa, were you like, once you all decided to do this together, was it, you were kind of driving what needed to be done, and then you would say, hey, Eric, like, this is what we need to get made?
That's exactly what it's like, Ryan.
Yeah, like I would I would design collections and come up with drawings that I wanted to do to decorate certain things, and I would just give him a list of, okay, this week I need 20 mugs, 2 utensil holders, just like that. And he would come home from his day job and throw until he couldn't keep his eyes open anymore. It was intense for a long time.
Yeah, the last couple years before we moved, when we were moving quite a bit of pottery, and then I was still working between 2,500 and 3,000 hours a year at my day job. So it was like it got spread real thin for a while.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And like, it's funny because, so for everybody that doesn't know, I spent 2.5 weeks at the Beales this year, and just like 2 weeks ago, I left probably 2 weeks ago, and everybody up until that point was like, Eric's like nobody I've ever met before. He's a fucking powerhouse, and like he never stops working, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And then I got there and was like, fuck, like. I was like, take a goddamn break.
He doesn't. Well, and now the motivation is we have to make this work, because now that he's been out of the mill for a bit, he's like, I'm never going back.
No, I'm never, never going back.
He'll put in those mill hours here at the studio to prevent that from happening.
Yeah.
So
honestly, we all do.
So I was doing the math, the 2,500, 3,000. That's like
I
a
saw you doing
week.
the math. Yeah. Oh,
on the low end, it's a 50-hour week for the 2,500. So it's like 50,
we
60 hours.
regularly get scheduled 84 hours a week sometimes, and then I would, we'd work additional hours, 90, 92, 94 hours some weeks. I wouldn't make pottery those weeks,
Right.
But
so let's just say it's like do you work that same amount of hours like doing the pottery? Are you still that much?
It's insane, Ryan. If I was like, hey, Eric, you should just put a cot out in the studio and stay out there if you want to go to bed late and wake up early doing pottery, he'd be like, I'll consider that. He would honestly maybe do it.
Yeah, no, there's, how it is, man. There's just always things to do. If you're not making stuff, you're testing stuff. And with the classes, it's like we're constantly mopping. I'm a motherfucking mopping expert at this point, man. So, but yeah, I mean, I would say at least 65 hours is on the low end every week.
Yeah.
Well, and there's also this element of, he was stuck at a job that he hated for so many years. And now he gets to wake up and, we get to be together
Yeah,
and
I
as
would
a
sit at work
family.
and want to be
And
at home doing this.
yeah, and then he gets to go to his dream job, so what's not to like?
Yeah, I love the commute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's across the pavement.
Yeah, nice short commute.
When
Is
Becca
there-
was here, I told her a story. I was looking at the Life 360 and it said that my phone had been at our house for 360 hours.
He was really proud of that.
I was. I don't have to go anywhere.
Wow.
And then what's also cool is that Oliver, their middle son, who's 18 right now, he's got like a work release program, right, at school?
Yeah, just like
I think
that.
that's a prison thing.
Is it
isn't
called a
it?
work release? I
Work
don't think
release
that's what
is
it's
What do
called.
they call it for the
like you're a
school?
criminal.
Yeah,
Is
what's-
it school
Internship.
prison?
Internship.
It's like
called
a
a work
work
study.
study.
Yeah, work
Oh,
study.
Study, not work
Study.
release. Work release is like you're out. You're
Just
out.
for all the listeners, our son
on
is
good
not
behavior.
a hardened criminal at 18 years old.
Well, give it time.
No, he is. He gets to leave school around 10:30 every morning. So he's home by 11, takes a lunch break, and he works 12 to 5 on our payroll every day. So, and he gets grades for that.
If somebody had to set that up, how did you all go about doing that?
Usually the local high school will have a program in place already. Like our high school, there's tons of kids that
It
do
was
this
just a
program.
boilerplate form. We just filled it out and they're like, no problem. Here you go.
Yeah.
So it's just like upper level classmen can take.
Well, he's got his credits to graduate. He
Yeah.
just needed to get his government econ during the day.
Yeah. But there are other local businesses who take advantage of that program too and hire high school interns, kids that want to be entrepreneurs themselves. It's a helpful program for the community for
Yeah.
sure.
It's nice it's actually paid too, because I would suspect that
Not-
at that age it's probably unpaid for.
I would-
Some are.
yeah.
Our older son did the same thing. He was working as a machinist, and he just had a part-time job, and he would go there every day and then send in a copy of his time card, and that was his attendance for the class.
There are some interns though, so they kind of have a little bit of separation in the program where they call part of it an internship, or some kids have the work study. I think the work study kids are paid and the internship kids, maybe not all of them are paid.
Mm.
It's more like an
Slavery.
experience.
Sounds like slavery.
You're getting experience, right?
Yes, it's about the experience. Oh, you guys are gonna have to edit that.
I assumed when y'all told me about your son working for you, I was like, oh, well, that's pretty sweet. He just comes in and free labor, and you're like, no, he gets paid. I'm like, oh, that's great too. I didn't know that.
Oh man, he's worth every penny though.
He's such a great help.
Oh God, he's like amazing.
So what kind of stuff is he he's what, 17?
18.
18? Okay, so what kind of stuff is he doing in the studio?
Oh, I'll like set out mix tickets and he'll mix glazes for us. He makes all the spoon rests and all of the little ramekins. He does probably 2/3 of all of our spraying on the glazes, and then he foots almost all the stuff we make too.
Trims him.
Foots him. Okay, trims him. Yeah.
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 Wow.
Then he helps us clean the
Yeah,
studio whenever we need it. Pretty much whatever we tell him we need on the punch list that day, he's up for it. So it's super helpful. I'm not sure what we're gonna do when he leaves.
No, it's pretty nice right now. Like I think I was telling you earlier, he made 40 spoon rests this week.
Yeah.
I will send you pictures of.
Do you have have you had other staff that you paid and work for you, or has it just been the two of you pretty much, and then your son is kind of a new addition for the short term?
Before we moved to this location, we started gaining enough of a following that we were pretty busy, and we wanted to keep up with that and be able to offer a lot more product. So I started with some help by asking a friend of mine to just step in a couple times a week and she's still with us, and we have hired another gal to help us part-time as well. So they both work about 2 days a week, and they'll come in and help with whatever, mostly painting with me. And like this week, Barb's here helping prep Christmas trees.
Is that like 2 full days, like 16 hours a week? For
2
people?
5-hour shifts.
2 5-hour, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so like if you look at their stuff on Instagram, Beale Pottery, if you look at it, then you'll see that there's 2 different, like very different styles, I would say. So Melissa's style is the painted ones, and then the sprayed ones are more like the rainbowy colors or like the gradients.
More about the
And
glazes,
so that's a newer style for Beale Pottery just generally, and then the painted ones Melissa's been doing forever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just once I had the time to make more pottery, it takes so long to paint all that stuff that we had to start finishing it other ways.
Yep. Well, and once we had the time and the space, we wanted to experiment with newer clay bodies that we hadn't really been using in our production line. So hence came.
I know I still want to do some other stuff too.
Mm-hmm, speckled bee mix we tried out for a bit.
Yeah.
You just had like probably one of the most famous pottery workshop persons. Tell us about that.
John Britt.
Jonathan Brittle.
How many test tiles did y'all have to prep for that?
Oh my God.
I made 2,000 before he got here, and we used 1,200 of them.
Wow.
It was a great weekend. It was incredible, really.
Yeah, it was awesome. That he puts on a great class, and the guy's hilarious, man.
John's wonderful, and then we had 30 different potters in one space for 3 full days, and that was really awesome. Everyone brought a great energy with them and just appreciated being with each other. And then John was funny on top of all of it. It just was great camaraderie and networking. It was a really wonderful weekend.
Does that kind of workshop like cater to a variety of different skill sets in the chemistry side? Because I can suspect it could be pretty deep chemistry, but also there can be just like, I want this kind of color. Like, how do I get that kind of color? And you kind of understand that.
Yeah, his lecture spanned kind of both ends of it. I would say there were some people there that maybe some of the UMF stuff kind of went past them, and there's a few topics that were pretty in depth. Like we touched on eutectics and things like that, which I still don't fully understand. But most of the stuff was pretty straightforward. Everybody got a glaze, and we tested that against a 10-step color pattern, of various chemicals. So everybody had, the same line of a 2% cobalt or copper carbonate or whatever, and you could see them across all the bases, the 30 bases that were spread out.
Oh, so the prep work is not just the test. You all had to mix all the just bases, and then you did it by volume or something in liquid form, or you did it by dry form and it got mixed up or something?
By volume, liquid form, and then he would separate that into 10 equal size containers, and then you would put, your colorants in each of those, and everybody used the same colorants, and then across the whole range. I mean, there was 4 different clays, 30 different bases, and 10 different lines on the color blend. So 1,200 tiles got done. You got to see what they all looked like, all in a straight line. Everything was set up.
Wow.
It was exciting. Yeah, there were some good results and some not so great results. And
oh yeah, and some glazes that I would never even try to use, like the brain crawl stuff. I never even thought about that, but it was neat to see it like in action and see how little adjustments changed it along the lines.
And there were potters that were brand new to glaze mixing, some that, had never even opened the book yet. And there were others who had been mixing glazes for a while and understood what was happening and appreciated the new information and the way that John laid it out. So I would say potters it was a wide range for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys had like a little raku party.
We did, yeah. It was fun after one of the classes.
Yep, that was fun.
Was that with like testing raku glazes, or you were just having people experiment and understand what raku's all about?
Yeah, we were just playing around. You know, we had fired 126 raku pots the weekend before, and we had 20 or 30 left over, and we just didn't want the party to end. Ryan just kept it going.
Kept it going.
Oh my God, me and Eric made all these fucking raku vases, and it was the hardest clay I've ever thrown with.
I know, it was terrible.
Awful.
Okay, I was waiting for Eric to be like, that's the clay I throw with daily.
No, it was awful.
No, it was like mortar. It
Still
felt like you were setting bricks, you know?
Oh, wow.
It was so bad. I only did like 50 of them. He did like 75.
Did the clay,
80.
had you used other clay before in the raku and it just wasn't producing results, so you were trying a different clay, or?
It was just
You know what? It was, we had bought 500 pounds of two different kinds of clay, maybe 6 or 8 months earlier, 2 raku clays. And one of them was just really, really toothy, really hard. And so I didn't use it. So when it came time to make all these pots, that's all we had
So
left.
these were the toothy ones?
Yes.
This was the toothy clay. Okay.
He saved the toothy clay for Becca.
They're like, we'll just use this. We have it on hand. I forgot about that.
No, I like walk into their house, and I'm like, great, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna have like, just do some stuff and work for Michiana Pottery Tour. And then he goes, so we need to make 120 vases. And then he's like, and I was like, well, how big? He's like, I'm thinking 4 pounds. And I was like, how about 2? How about 2 pounds? And he was like,
It was too little.
3.
2 was too little.
He was like, how
It's
about
not
3
gonna
pounds?
make a big enough flame and a big enough show for the
raku so we
party.
made 153-pound vases out of the worst clay I've ever used. It was an experience.
The people appreciated them so much.
Yes.
They loved them.
Yeah.
You got nice exfoliated hands from it, I bet.
Yeah.
Nice and soft. Thanks, Becca.
Yeah,
No
thanks.
problem. Anytime.
Did you get paid, or was that free labor?
That was free labor.
Slave
labor?
labor?
That was what we refer to as slave labor. It was funny because they bought me food and stuff and they fed me.
Okay.
So, but it's funny because normally if somebody would buy me lunch, I'd be like, can I pay for this? Like, here, let me pay for this. And I was like, no, fuck you guys. I'm making all these vases. You can pay for my lunch.
Yeah, we just kept you fed and just kept throwing clay in front of you. And eventually we were done.
You put a Eric work ethic into you to.
We fought about it the whole time.
You were bitching about it.
I was.
Quite a
We
bit.
took it easy that week. It wasn't that busy.
No, it wasn't bad.
Okay, so what were all these vases for? What was the big hullabaloo about these vases, and what was the build-up for? What was the event?
You handle it, Liz.
We threw a celebration, a hell of a party. When Becca was here, that date marked our 1 year anniversary of opening the doors here to this new studio. So we just wanted to bring the community together and celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, called it a grand opening party.
Yeah, and we had planned this. Like, I'd planned on being there for the party.
Mm-hmm.
And it just happened to be the Michiana Pottery Tour was the same time.
Yeah.
And then Milissa was like, we'll do the Michiana Pottery Tour if Becca can do the Michiana Pottery Tour. So
so you guilted Jesse into getting both of you all?
Apparently I was on his short list, quote unquote.
Not his shit list, but his short list. Okay, that's
Haven't heard that story at all.
His short list, and he was gonna ask me, but he didn't know where I was gonna be.
So it all worked out though.
Yeah, it all worked out.
It was fun. The pottery tour was a fun time.
Yeah.
Nice. Had
Yeah,
you
the
all
party
done it
was
before,
awesome.
or attended it before?
Nope, that was our first time. Newbies.
Okay.
Yeah. And we've threatened Jesse. He's not allowed to have anybody other than us.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did we say? We liked it so much that we're coming back next year, even if we're not invited.
Yeah.
And if we're not invited, then we're going to sit up across the street and call it what, Becca?
The not pottery tour.
We'll make research the whole
You're gonna
show.
have an Amish duel there on the main street.
Yes. We warned him. I was like, I'll pull an Nsika on you.
Gonna imposter the.
I'll be impostering the
tour.
pottery tour.
Yeah, but the party was awesome though. About 500 people showed up, and people would come in and they had the option of buying a raku vase and glazing it up themselves and watching the whole process. So 126 people did that, and that's where we shut it off. We had 3 kilns going, and we fired for 9 hours.
It was freaking insane.
Did you have help? Was it all you that was doing it, or did you have?
Oh no, man, we had tons and tons of people helping out.
We had
Okay.
volunteers, studio members, family, friends, all lined up to help.
There was 3 kilns and 3 separate people running those kilns. So they have a friend up the street that ran one of them, and her husband is a freaking monster.
Oh yeah, Heather and Chris Connors.
Chris, Chris was like a freaking monster. He was the one that was like putting all the stuff in the trash cans and like all the fire coming everywhere and like
Nice.
And it was like 80 degrees, so it was not cool. And
He
like
burned off one of his eyebrows. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, totally. It was all the way singed, all the way curled up.
Chad Heather.
You have to check on the status of that next time you see him. You're like, okay, let's see, it's coming back. It's coming back a little bit.
Yeah, and so like they were, and then Aaron was another one, and like they worked the entire day without like any full breaks. It was insane.
Yeah, we had Ryan Green
food.
and Harold was out there, Jim Hanlon.
How many? Do you know how many people showed up?
We're estimating upwards of 500 people were here that day.
Wow.
There was 3 bands and a full stage.
Had you all like done events like this before? Like, what's with the scale of it? Like, how did you get to this point where you had such a large happening? Like, I saw you all like had to set a stage up the week of, and like the stage is going here and the fire pit area with the raku area.
Milissa fucking Beale. That's what. That's
the truth.
I like big parties, and I had done something like that on a smaller scale with a friend. We called it an artisan fair for a few years, a handful of years.
I don't know if it was on a smaller scale though, because you still had live music all day and you had like 20 vendors.
Yeah, maybe not smaller, but similar. And I think it started in preschool when I threw the soiree for the preschool.
You were that good, that little?
Wait, you threw a soiree when you were in preschool?
For the preschool that our kids went to. Thanks for that, Eric. No, I was on the board of their preschool, the field station, and it was our job the year that I was leaving to they have an annual soiree, and I threw it at a friend's house.
Fundraiser.
Yeah. And had bands and beer and a silent auction, and it was fun. So we kept doing it with the artisan fair a handful of years later, and then did it again. Yep.
It was like, okay, I did not know what I was expecting going in. Like, I didn't really know what to expect, but I was like, okay, a party, whatever. No, it's not just a fucking party. Like, Milissa is like the master party thrower. I've never in my life seen anybody, and her standards are like through the roof. So like
off the line. Did you have to like get bartenders or something?
Oh
or
yeah, she had bartenders. She had stage. We had security.
There was
security. We had a fucking
Yeah.
cop. We had parking attendants. We had fucking hay bales with flowers on them. Like chairs, tables, tablecloths. I was like, if I was throwing this party, people would be sitting in the grass. Like, you don't have to bring your own shit.
BYOB.
Yeah, it was so put together, like completely put together that like drink tickets, fucking wristbands.
I saw the drink ticket. Yeah, drink tickets and everything. Wow.
It was
so
wild.
So was it a money maker, or was it just like you're like, we're doing this, like this is just gonna happen, it's gonna be a big celebration, we're not doing it for like we're gonna make a ton of money on it, or
This year, the focus was not making a ton of money. The focus was like actually celebrating with the community. We have a huge local following, and everyone has been curious, and we just wanted to bring people here and celebrate this place, and that was our main objective. It was nice to make a little extra money.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the focus for sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
They even let me and like three other artists like set up and
Sell some stuff.
Yeah.
Nice.
I made like $700. I made more at the Beale party than I did at the fucking Milissa Pottery tour.
That's wild.
You weren't competing with that many people though.
I guess. I don't know.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Nice.
We're gonna do it again next year though. It's gonna be awesome.
So have you all had I would suspect it's a good thing to just have people see what's available there and like try things out or just see what it's about, and they're like, okay, let's sign up for this class, or maybe they'll sign up for a date night or something like that. Like it's a good kind of funnels people in to just try it.
Yeah, because we advertise online, but it's different to be here in person, So to walk through the space and see it and get the feel for it is a lot different than seeing an ad on Facebook, So that was, I think we'll see some people from that.
Oh
came
yeah,
to
I
visit.
think so
Yeah.
too. I think so too.
It definitely like leaves a lasting impression, and it also like I was in the like painting part where people were painting the raku pots, and it definitely was like, wow, I didn't even know this was here. Like, I want to take a class, or I know somebody who would want to take a class, and like, crazy stuff like that. Even
how big is your town? Are there a lot of things going on?
I'll look
to like compete.
We have our address now is Westville, but we're in the Duneland area. Like Chesterton is the main town that we're near, but the other surrounding towns are pretty big too. Valparaiso, Michigan City, LaPorte. We get people even as far as Maryville, Crown Point. So we get some people from neighboring towns. The biggest draw to this area is the Indiana Dunes National Park. We're 9 miles from there. So we get a lot of tourist traffic in the summertime and through the fall really too.
Yeah.
They have in Westville proper, there's 5,307 people.
Yeah.
But what's Chesterton, like 30,000 people?
Let's look, Chesterton. Also, you know what's really freaking crazy, Ryan? There's a town called Otis.
Oh, really? Otis,
3
Indiana?
miles away from their house.
Nice. So how did y'all go about advertising for it? You mentioned a Facebook ad.
14,375.
Oh, it seems like
And
so many
Chesterton,
more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Check Valparaiso, see how many people are there.
It's Val, right? Valparaiso?
Yeah. Our analytics say that a lot of our customers come from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your question?
Analytics on where?
On our
Square?
website and
Squarespace,
on Facebook, yeah.
Like Google Analytics or something, or
Yeah.
Squarespace breaks down IP addresses or something like that.
Yeah. And Facebook tells you where your viewers are coming from, like who's.
Yeah, Squarespace will show you the county, I believe, right? That everybody's.
Nice.
34,000. So between all of those, that's like almost 60,000. So
Yeah. So we do advertise with Facebook. So I made the event and then we did pay to have it advertised so that it reached,
Mm-hmm.
I think I did a 50-mile radius for that one. So that definitely helped.
Did you do it like a couple weeks out or like a month out, or because I'm about to advertise for my holiday show that I have at my house?
I did it, I think
A whole month.
Yeah, a whole month out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it also helped that like Mila's still in high school, and she told literally everyone at high school.
Mm-hmm.
She's on the debate team at the high school and had it added to their daily announcements.
Nice.
So they had it written on the board. Like I think every class that she has at the high school had our open house written on the
Yeah.
board.
And one of the
Great
bands
team.
that we has a pretty good local following too. So people, I'm sure, came out just to see the band.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Well,
Right.
and you know, Eric and I both I grew up in this area in particular. It's like Chesterton, Valparaiso, and Eric's from Maryville. So all of our family and our friends are here too, and that has a pretty far reach, you know?
Yeah, almost felt like a family reunion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had a parking lot laid out for 100 cars, and at one point it was full, but there was traffic like in and out all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah, handling parking that size, like y'all. I'm guessing it's all in your land. Do you have
Yeah.
like? I really hope it does not rain, or like,
Yeah, man. Oh my God. We were like, if it rained, would have ruined everything. It would have ruined everything.
It really would have ruined everything too because the land that they have is like really soft. So like I was parked up on the behind the berm.
because it's really sandy or what?
No, it's just soft. I don't know how to
Close to the
describe it.
lake. It's got a high water table,
Yeah.
you know. Just
Okay.
And my van
Well,
almost
and it had rained, so it wasn't bad actually leading up to your arrival, but before you came, it rained like
yeah.
for almost a straight week. It rained.
Yeah.
So it was pretty
It's really
wet.
The grass was nice and long. That's probably good for the cars going through there.
Yeah.
Mode.
yeah, we only mow it twice a year.
Yeah.
So, like a big field.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. So are you gonna do it semi-regularly? Are you gonna do it every couple years or something, or is it?
I think we'll do it every year. I mean,
Every
I
year?
feel like it was kind of it was really successful. I think, you know, just the amount of people that were there, and we maybe could have fit a few more people, but not, you know, not double the amount. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yes.
add another raku kiln.
yeah, another raccoon kill next year. Maybe get done a little earlier.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of like Isaac's when he does his pumpkin patch thing or something, where it's just like the community kind of like comes right in to support the local business, and
Yeah.
except yours was at night, or I guess it started during the day and then it went.
Yeah, we started
What time did we start?
12:30. Yeah,
12:30
12:30 to 9.
Yeah.
Well, and I think also the difference between Isaac's and yours was that Isaac's is very centered around like, hey, we have all of these pumpkins or we have all of these things to sell. And yours was like, we've got Raku, but also like come and have a great time, you know? And theirs is like have a good time, but it's really geared towards like making money,
Selling.
you know? So that there's a difference in that regard.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But Isaac definitely like we were messaging while it was happening and he was like, yeah, it's the way to go, man.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, sales were all right. I mean, you know how it was. The merch tent was doing okay. Pottery sales were all right. The raccoons, you know, we sold as many as we were listed, so that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, because they pre-sold the raku pots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, pre-sold them, and we sold like 80 of them before.
Yeah, before it even started, we didn't do any more online.
Yeah.
80 of the, you said 120 is what y'all ended up doing total?
26.
Yeah. And all the extras we kept for, you know, just in case of breakage and stuff. And frankly, we just ran out of time. We stopped selling them at 4:00, and we had a whole table full of things to fire. We didn't finish until right at 9:00.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of the local support. So kind of separate, I guess, more broad. How do you all enjoy selling the work? Like, do you try to focus locally? Do you try to do online more, or do you have a preference, or how do y'all go about that?
We don't have a preference.
Eric has a preference.
Yeah, I have a preference. I like selling it online. We don't really do shows. We did one or two a year.
Oh, if that's what you mean. Yeah, we definitely like selling online, but we have a lot of local people that buy online.
Yeah. And then we're part of a little co-op gallery in town too. So one of us works 1 day a month there, and then we keep it stocked up as best we can.
Okay.
But I would say overall about 85% of our sales are online.
Okay. Has it always been that way, or is it just kind of naturally went that way just because of the Instagram, social media, and things of that nature?
Instagram has been amazing. Like pretty much from the first year that we started, it started growing slowly. We tried to do a couple of shows at the beginning, and we were like, yeah, this is for the birds.
Well, the hard part there was I still had my day job, so if I sat at a table, like that was my whole production time for the week. Sometimes was on the weekend, so that'd be a week where I didn't make anything. We just sit there and.
Well, and we had kids at home, so it was hard to coordinate an entire weekend away from the kids, and they usually had stuff going on. It just didn't work, And then the shows were only producing $1,000 to, if we were lucky, $3,000, and we were just doing better online. So at some point, we're like, let's just focus here.
Was the work that you were starting to make early on while you were still like doing the full-time job, Eric, were you always pretty much doing Melissa's style that she still does with the decorative and the all on every single piece early on?
Piece, yeah, every single piece was. I mean, there might be something that had a little slip work done on it and is dipped in like a bowl or plate or something, but the majority of our sales were Melissa's drawings.
Okay, so then the price points were higher.
They were
for that, so like the shows make it a little more difficult there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Selling production pottery at the shows.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Okay, so mostly online, Instagram. I think you said you have your own website, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Squarespace.
Workspace. And then do you all Melissa, do you ship everything or do you have help that does that?
We do ship everything. Usually, we have the gals come in. We always do our sales on Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and then I get all of my orders prepped, and then their gals come in on Monday, and we get everything shipped in one day.
Okay, so is it like an update kind of schedule, or is it pieces are constantly on the site?
I don't like doing that because it's so much easier with our small batch production to work in batches of things. So it's easier to, do batch work and then work on taking pictures and advertising and posting listings and then selling and then packing and starting over again. So that's just the way we've always operated.
Okay. And did do you go like mailing list route as well as, or is it just primarily social media and?
It was only social media for a while because we were using Etsy as our selling engine up until this past year. And so I want to say at the end of last November when we moved here, I broke up with Etsy and started our website with Squarespace, and that's when a mailing list started. So we are trying to take advantage of that for sure.
Okay. Do you have to give them incentives to come back, or do you just are there certain things that you think help get those sales? Is it just changing up the collections often, or?
I like to change collections. I try to make things that I would have in my own house, and I like kind of changing with the seasons. I don't necessarily do like special things for the holidays, but I like different colors that I would put out in my own house. So we kind of change in that way. I don't normally do incentives or sales or anything like that because we have our things priced right where they need to be.
Well, but you have people can get on the sale a half hour early.
That is the one thing that we do.
Newsletter, folks.
If you subscribe to the newsletter, then we let you in. We give you a password that day and let you log in at 6:30 rather than 7.
Okay.
And we do have a lot of people that do that.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
See, I feel like that's a good incentive for people. It's low. Hopefully that's low maintenance. I don't know what it looks like on the website side of things, but I would suspect they can figure that out. And
it's not hard to manage at all, and it gives people, if there are some people who really watch the drawings and have collected for a while now, and if there's something new especially, and it's their jam, they will log on right at 6:30 and make sure they have exactly what they want in their cart. So
nice.
Yeah.
So the collection changes. It sounds like it's mostly design changes, but are there forms that are also like introduced at different times of the year, and you might like do more of this form at this time of year and less of this other form, so it kind of like ebbs and flows of
Sure.
that you have, so it helps drive sales also.
Springtime, we hit the planters real hard, and in autumn we do pie pans and stuff like that. So there's definitely some change. I mean, we sell a lot of mugs pretty much year round. That's
Pretty common, yeah.
Mugs and spoon rests, man. I tell you what, I will never have enough spoon rests. I don't think there's enough time in the day to make enough spoon rests for everybody who wants one.
What do you price the spoon rests at?
$20.
Okay, are they all with Melissa's designs as well?
No.
They don't have my designs at all. Yeah, they're just dippers.
Just dippers.
Or Ollie's spraying them.
Yeah, he does that too.
Yeah.
Okay. And those are the ones that your son's making as well as
start to finish pretty much.
Yeah, he's doing all of it himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing he doesn't do is sign the bottom.
Right, Melissa does that.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you do the decorative signing on every single piece?
Every single piece.
Okay. Do you have like a template, or how do you?
Nope.
You just freehand it?
Yep.
Wow. I guess
I'm thinking about doing some decal work though.
Yeah, we have a wholesale order that we're working on right now for 100 mugs, and we priced them pretty low. And I think we're going to do a decal signature for the first time and see how that goes.
I would think, why not like the stamp pad, the underlay stamp pad with a rubber stamp or something?
It's got 3 colors on it.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like 2 different types of green and black.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we know a guy that does decals.
They have them.
Oh, okay. You've already done them. Sweet.
Yeah. I have the machine.
Oh, you do?
The same machine that Isaac has.
Wow.
I was talking to him about it today, actually, because it turns out that that company sells the machine with 2 different toner sets. And that was something that, like, you can either get a machine with earth tone colors or you can get a machine with red toner colors. And I was sold the one with earthy colors, and I didn't really
Didn't know. We didn't know there was
I didn't have an
difference.
option presented to me beforehand. And so I've been over here like reeling, trying to figure out why my reds don't look like Isaac's reds. And we finally figured out it's because I have a completely different toner set. So
Holy shit, that's the reason?
yeah. And it's such a bummer.
So can you buy new materials to make it? Obviously, the materials aren't cheap, but can you buy new, is it like ink that you're putting in there and it's just a certain...
They don't tell you what it is. They just say that it's toners. It's an inkjet printer that's been converted to print for ceramic decals. And so they just say earth-based materials in the toners. It's, they don't really tell you what it is.
What's not an earth-based material?
Really broad description. So when I was talking with Isaac today, he didn't think that they were interchangeable. I don't think he thought that I could just say, hey guys, I'd like the red ones now.
Right. You have to send it back to Germany and they'd have to take it apart.
Yeah. Yeah. There's actually a lot that goes into making that machine work. So
yeah, they don't really tell you any of that.
They don't tell you any of that before you buy it.
Yeah.
That's a really good thing to know though, because
oh, it would have been. It's a really expensive purchase. So.
Yeah. How did y'all decide to make that jump? Were you already doing some decal work or paying for decals, and you were just like, why don't we just source it ourselves? Or
kind of. When we first started doing all of this 8 years ago, when we started doing it seriously, I found Justin Rothshank, and I loved the idea of decals. And at that time, he still had. You could go to his website, and he had listed everything that you needed to make decals, the fired on transfer sheets, the printer, he's like, just go to eBay. You can find this HP printer with this toner set. And he just made it so easy. And so I did all of those things. And so right off the rip, I was making iron decals of my drawings and to go on our stuff. So when we were so busy, towards the end of our time at our other house, it just made sense.
It wasn't going to be scalable for you to continue drawing and draw more and more and more. I mean, there's going to be a time when we just can't, you couldn't keep up. So we were just sort of preparing for that. And that time is now. We're here,
Yeah. So.
Nice. So it's like whole sheets of colored decals that you're going to get to wrapping around the pot.
In process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But aren't they normally isn't it normally like more bare clay though? Generally?
Yeah. So I use, our production work before now has been primarily on Laguna 608, which is a brown stoneware. Speckle, do you use that too,
That's
right?
what I use for throwing.
Yeah. And I just use Amico underglazes to paint with.
Yeah.
And I leave it raw on the outside for a couple of reasons. I like how it feels on the outside. I don't like how clear looks over them. So aesthetically, I like that. But also, I like the grip. Like when the glass sweats, I like how it doesn't slide in your hands. So.
Right.
Yeah, we've been testing different base glazes for the decals. And there's some that work really well. There's some that don't work at all.
Yeah.
So are you using like templates or something to help standardize it for yourself, or how?
Templates for my
painting.
Your paintings and drawings.
Transfer paper.
So our iconic look is a pattern that we call woodlands, and I change like colorways through the years and do different colorways with that design. That design is just freehand every single time that I paint it. I lay it out, we paint it. When the girls are here, what they do, so I'll lay it out with a marker on my mugs, and they'll come back with color fill and do like the base color, and then I'll come back with a layer of detail color, and then with the black detail to finish it off.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I'm looking at some they're like all different color palettes. You got the red and the purple and the yellow and the wow.
Yeah.
The bands of color, that's just like straight underglaze?
Yep.
Wow.
The rainbow mug.
She doesn't even tape them off. She just
Oh
fucking
my
freehand
gosh. Yeah, you don't have any black lines to like clean up that band, so you're like, okay, it's just a little.
Yeah.
And they have stacker mugs too. I think that's cool. Like the fact that your mugs all stack together is the
stacker mugs are so amazing, and I think that they don't get enough credit sometimes. People have collected those stackers for such a long time now. Eric throws each one of those individually and carves them individually to fit inside the other. It's wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like 5 months ago, I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. You guys need a goddamn laser level. And so I sent Eric my like extra one, and he was like, I'm not gonna use it.
No, but turns out it's great. Turns out it's awesome.
Turns out it's
use
great.
It all the time. Use it every single day.
I was like, you can't not use this with the stackers. Like, it's perfect for that.
It is perfect.
Mm.
Had you all ever, because some of the decorative is so important that like, have you ever went into the slip casting route or anything like that with forms?
We've always been a no mold batch work.
I worked at a slip casting place when I was a kid, so I have a little bit of experience with it. But no, we've never really considered it. Heidi was here the other day. We were talking about it a little bit.
Yeah, she switched from throwing to slip casting because her body was just breaking down essentially.
Yeah.
And she loves it, but like, I don't know.
It's just a completely different skill set, and
yeah.
It seems like your time is spent doing one thing, or it's spent doing something different. So
right. Yeah. I mean, how much faster could it possibly be, right? I mean,
I think it's
throw
the
a couple
same.
thousand mugs, you get good at it.
Well, and also for one person, it might. So I think that Heidi enjoys the decorative aspect of making, right? So for her, it makes sense to slip cast to get through that process of actually making the mug, and make that faster so that she has time to decorate. But with us, we have two of us, and he's really great at throwing, and I'm really great at decorating.
We have Oliver too, and he's just picking up all the slack. He's trimming all that stuff. Pretty soon he'll be putting handles on. So
teamwork.
Yeah.
Are you handling everything right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not pulling, right?
No, I pull every one of them.
You're pulling them? Because I know you did those slab ones. I can't remember if the slab ones were your normal thing.
No, I pull right off the mug.
Right off the mug, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that would be a step that I was like, that would be the hardest thing to let go of, would be the handle.
Ryan's handles are really good.
So I'm like, I don't know if it would look that good if somebody else, but I mean, obviously it takes time, but
Yeah, it's personal.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's going to be some bad ones as he's learning. There's going to be some bad ones.
And there's subtleties of like, this is what I'm looking for, but if I told somebody that, it'd be like, this seems nitpicky, but it's also like, it's your work.
On a mug of a potter, like I think a handle is kind of a signature, right, for a potter?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think there's
subtleties. Has their own style,
Well, and like a handle can make or break a mug, really. It's like if you get if there's like a beautiful freaking mug and you can't pick it up because the handle is like either too small or too skinny or too fat.
There's something awkward about it.
It just doesn't work. It's like, oh, okay. Like that was nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Never going to pick that up again.
Right.
Or maybe it's perfect to pick up if you kind of like cup the mug and you just put, you don't actually just hold it by the handle and that's it. You kind of like put your fingers through the body of the mug and just kind of cradle it. I don't know. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you feel, are you feeling it, Eric? Like, are you throwing significantly more that you've been doing it full time for, how long have you been doing it full time officially?
Since December 18th of last year.
Okay. So you're coming up on a year.
Yeah.
Like, is your throughput significantly more than when you were doing it?
Oh yeah. So much more, man. So much. I can just stay out there, on days that we don't have classes and we don't have workshops going, I can just stay out there for 16, 18 hours and just, do as much as I want until I'm forced to go to sleep. I'm throwing
forced to go to sleep.
More. Yeah.
Melissa's like, are you coming to bed or
we
what?
have children, Eric.
And I tell you what, man, with all the practice, my skills are sharper now too. Doing it all the time, I just streamlines the process, and taking Becca's throwing efficiency class also helped.
He didn't need to take it.
I mean, even if he picked up like one thing to cut out,
he did pick up one thing. He picked up one thing.
I mean, that's most of those kind of workshops. If you could pick up one thing.
Yeah, I also got him a new student through that class.
Oh yeah, she starts on Thursday.
And she came for Heidi's workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like we talked to her and she was like, yeah, I'm in this other class. I've been doing all these other things and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, they're really great. And she like messaged me on Instagram like later and was like, thanks so much for the class. That was so awesome. And like, I'm really considering it. I was like, I think you should. And she was like, I did it.
Oh, she was at another studio?
Yeah, and she canceled that class and went to the Beale's class instead. So
are there a lot of other options for people that want to work in clay near you?
Yeah, there's 3 other places within 5 miles of us.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, that's quite a bit.
It's a ton, man. It's almost unbelievable, right?
Mm-hmm. The difference, though, the thing that sets us apart from those places, and I think, in my opinion, all the instructors there, everybody has something to offer, right? Everybody does things like a different way, so everybody has something to bring to the table. The difference, though, is the studio space is usually shared at those places with different mediums, and at our place you can just work straight pottery
and
do some more advanced things, and there's just
Like a community center or something, so they'd have painting and other mediums and stuff.
Yeah.
Just pottery's just like a subset that's not the full focus.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can do like independent study with theirs. So if you were like, Eric, I want to do a two-piece vase, they would work on that, and it's more geared towards what the student wants as opposed to doing the exact same class every single time.
Right, and on the independent study end there, I got some people mixing their own glazes, running their own glaze tests now, so that's awesome. They people come in with their own ideas, and we help them get to the end.
Yeah.
Have you all been teaching? Did you only start teaching like when you had that new space, or were you teaching before that?
Milissa ran at the local arts center for a couple of years. She ran the classes out there.
Okay. So you kind of had an idea coming into it, what kind of structure you wanted, how you wanted to, have the studio with like specific X number of week classes and studio memberships and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, also, Eric, you cut yourself short there a little bit. You taught a little bit before I met you.
I was just a volunteer at your studio.
Yeah, you kind of took over my classes actually at the Arts Center. No, but
is it worth it? I mean, it sounded like you got something out of the volunteer work in the end of it.
Yeah, you got a freaking wife and 3 kids.
But
I taught 20.
So that wasn't slave labor.
Right.
No, and when we first met, after we met at that little hole in the wall studio, we opened a studio with 4 other artists.
2. It was us and 2 at the beginning. It was actually 2 of my high school art teachers, and Milissa and I opened up a studio. Then we ended up picking up a watercolor painter and a jeweler.
It was so nuts. It was like
nuts. Yeah.
3,500 square feet right downtown. We had a huge gallery space.
Yeah, it was.
We taught the pottery classes. We were so young.
We ruined it. We just ruined it.
This sounds very familiar.
There was figure drawing, jewelry casting, all painting classes.
Marble. They were carving marble there.
Yeah. There was all kinds of stuff going on. It was so cool, but
no
there
accountant, no business manager.
No business manager. Yeah.
Just a bunch of artists just
trying to make a go of it. Yeah. It was terrible.
Yeah. So we made a lot of mistakes back then. So we came into it this time with a clearer set of expectations.
Yeah, when that place closed and we moved back out this way towards the dunes, and Eric was working at the mill, we always said if we did it again, it would be on our home property. And
without any partners.
Right. It's just
So did you have to build, I was looking at like the renovation stuff. You had to go in and build everything, or was the structure there and you just had to like make it enjoyable?
We bought the house because of the barn, man. We saw the place, the barn in the yard, and before we even went in the house, we knew this was our spot. So there's a 1,500 square foot pole barn, had its own 200 amp electric service, its own gas meter, and that was it. Nothing on the inside. So we remodeled the whole inside, filled it full, and looking at expanding already,
Yeah, we brought water to the building. We sunk septic. We did a ton of electric work.
Yeah, they took our firstborn son in exchange for a bathroom. So, bathroom.
Oh man!
Tell him how the water system is like. Do you have a clay trap of any sort?
I have a natural clay trap, large natural clay trap.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Envision a large hole. Slowly filling.
Okay, I hope the county's not listening to this.
Envision a large hole. So he doesn't even have a clay trap. He just has 2 pipes going into a fucking hole in the backyard.
It's not going in our septic, so.
No, it's not going in the septic.
It's fucking brilliant. I was like, if more people did that, they'd be fine.
Yeah, and then we throw pots that we don't want in there.
Yeah, it's the
The pit of
Viking. Yeah,
despair.
all the ugly stuff goes in there for Phil.
Yeah, if it's not shot up by Ollie, it goes in the hole.
So you just have like when it rains really bad, do you just have like a line of leading from that wherever it goes out to just...
The hole is in a natural depression in the land anyway that kind of, I don't know, there's like a whole little river system that goes
It's
to
like
a little
swamp. It's
yeah.
like a swamp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whew.
So they're not terrorizing any other property because of the stuff that's in there. Even not that any of that stuff is bad for the earth, but it just goes into the swamp.
Pit of despair.
We had a lot of bad pots though. After they go.
It looks like there's a gallery space on site too. Is that right?
No.
No, that's somewhere else. Beverly Shores, Indiana. That's somewhere else.
Oh yeah. That's a little co-op that we're part of.
Oh, that's the
a little artist collective, and it's kind of neat because it's nestled right in the Dunes property. So there's a lot of tourist traffic there.
Okay. So how how many classes do y'all have regularly, and like how much are y'all teaching versus producing work?
Man, that's the hard question, isn't it? Like when do you dial it back? So we were running 4 separate courses, one of which was an independent study. So we didn't have a curriculum for that, but we had 2 101 classes and then an advanced class for people who wanted to, step up to the next level. We dialed that down to just 3 classes a week, and coming up at the end of the month, we're going to have only our independent study through winter into February before we take classes on again. Try to get all of our Christmas and Mother's Day stuff ready.
Okay. Do the student, because I would guess if you got students, like they want to be there 24/7 and just keep taking classes and keep having access versus, saying these are the only times we're going to allow you because we need to focus on other stuff.
We do that, actually. We say, independent study is on these days at this time. We run it. We have allowed students to come in on Tuesdays now because sometimes people need daytime hours. So they'll come in on Tuesdays from 2 to 4. But then our main independent study or like membership time is Friday nights from 5 to 9.
I think you meant about cutting the classes.
Yeah. Do you have specific like weeks or months of the year that you say this is when we can only offer classes and access to the studio, and then...
Oh, so we allow members to be here all the time, pretty much.
So only around Christmas is the only time we shut it down. We run classes the rest of the year.
Right, but independent study will still be here through.
Yeah, the independent study folks are year round. We don't ever stop that one.
Yeah. How many members can you all handle?
Well, we can take comfortably 12 people in a class. We have 6 wheels and then 6 people working on tables. I think our current membership is 14 people in our independent study, 14 or 16 between 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about how I think the way their classes are set up are really cool. And I think that if you're in a partnership business type studio space, I think the way that you guys do classes is really smart, and I like for you to tell people how you do it, like the 6 and the 6.
Oh, thanks, Becca. So like Eric said, we have 6 wheels, 7, but he uses one as a teaching wheel, and then there are 6 extras. And then we have big tables that I teach hand building on. So like, for instance, a 101 class is 5 weeks long, 5 sessions, 3 hours at a time. But the first 2 sessions, we split into groups of 6, and I teach hand building for 2 weeks. He teaches wheel, and then we swap after 2 weeks. And the last class, we all come together to glaze.
Oh, okay. So nobody's just focusing on wheels straight for 4 weeks.
And the 101 class, everybody gets just a little bit of everything, because sometimes people come in and they know right away if they're a hand builder, or they know right away if they just want to be on the wheel and learn that. And then the 102 class is built so that they get more time in either one of those things.
And that's a 6-week course without any swapping. So you sign up for either table time or 6 weeks on the wheel.
Yeah.
And you're both in each of the 102 classes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And you still have 6 and 6 available, and okay.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so how do they like that? Do you have people that are like, oh, I wish I could just do that more, or?
We do, and then they sign back up and they do the other thing, and then they sign up again and they do the first thing again, and then they sign up and they end up being an independent study, which is where we try to funnel, the folks that want to continue doing it. Yeah,
that way you don't have to keep doing bigger and bigger projects and more effort and more curriculum you got to prep and get ready and all that stuff.
Right. So the 101 and 102 we teach different skills, and then after they feel like they've got a grip on those skills, they can sign up for time and just make whatever they like.
Okay. So is it only the two of you that do any teaching in the space?
No, we have some other people. We have Heather Connors runs our kids programs during the summer, and then Sydney Rayner does teens courses 1 day a week.
And then sometimes we bring in people to do outside workshops.
Yeah, we do have that. That's been going on too.
Yeah, I did a jewelry workshop, which was a disaster, and
everybody had a good time.
Everyone loved it.
Why was it a disaster, Becca?
It was a disaster because it was my fault. It wasn't their fault.
You had a lot of people too. You had
I had 17 people.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of people. We didn't even have enough chairs for them. And
what was the workshop? It was the jewelry workshop?
It was jewelry, and what the issue was with was that when I used to do single firings with the underglazes, I used to use Mako underglazes, and speedball underglazes do not act the same at all. And the speedball underglazes, you can't really single fire with them. Just heads up. And
is it because you have to hang them and they can't touch the?
Well, yeah, you hang them, but it has so much moisture in it that it just dissolves the clay, and they would just break apart.
Oh.
So the next one I do, I'm gonna have to do have pieces that are already bisqued for the delicate pieces. But the painting was fine. Painting them was fine.
Okay.
It was just dipping.
It's just kind of high expectations for one short time period.
Kind of.
Was it a 3-hour workshop?
Yeah, it was 3 hours, and I feel like it could have been 4 easily.
Yeah. You pulled it off though, and everyone was happy.
Yeah, I didn't punch anybody.
Oh, that's good. I mean, they paid you, so I hope you did.
I almost did.
We would have known that was a concern beforehand.
At least a disclaimer.
Right, we would have kept that security guy.
Punch an underglaze bottle or something.
No, everybody was so amazing. There was only a few people that I was like, please be smarter. But but pretty much I would say almost everybody was just super amazing and gracious, and even if they did break, they were like, that's fine, I'll just do something else or what have you. So yeah.
How did y'all initially decide to start having outside workshops?
What up, home skillets? So, we're interrupting this time because we couldn't interrupt it at the time of the time. So, I wanted to talk to you about the L&L thermocouple guard, because that's my favorite part of the new kilns, is that, how when you have a normal thermocouple, it just sticks out and it's just out there all willy-nilly in front of God and everybody, and it just has no protection at all. Well, on the new thermocouples in the L&L kilns, they have a cool guard, and it's almost like a PVC pipe type thing, but it's ceramic, obviously. But it's kind of like a tube that surrounds the thermocouple, and what it's doing is that it's protecting it from any damage that might happen, so it'll get damaged before the thermocouple actually gets damaged. And also, what I think is really, really great is that none of the black dusty stuff that happens to quite literally every thermocouple, whether you get it from one kiln company or the other, it degrades and it starts to like kind of crumble and fall, and that guard is actually going to catch all those little black crumblies. And that, in my opinion, is the coolest thing about the new L&Ls, because I haven't seen a thermocouple guard like that in any other kiln, and I just think that that's so nice. Like, what's great about it is that, you know, you have to protect 3 thermocouples. You're not just, because there is zone control, you're not just protecting 1 thermocouple, you have to protect 3. And that just kind of takes the worry out of it all. So you can go to hotkilns.com and see what I am talking about and find all of the L&L awesomeness that you want. They have a fantastic website that has all of the things you need, and also it has a great troubleshooting area as well. I've used it many a times, even for my kiln that's not L&L. So yeah, let's get back to our regular program.
Really, we wanted the space to make money on its own without us, you know, just to keep it active.
Well, and I wanted to be able to offer students things that we couldn't, or things that we didn't focus on, you know? Like we do a lot in our studio space, but like when Heidi came, I don't do screen printing, I don't do mono printing, and there's so many ways that you can do surface decoration. So it was really neat for some of our students to be able to experience that and have that as an opportunity for them. And like John Britt too, holy cow, people were so excited to be able to take his workshop. They came from all over the place. It's neat to be able to offer things like that in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know the like we have some little like workshops at Baker Hunt, but it's just like they kind of just tell the instructors like, hey, if you have an idea for workshops, we'd love to have workshops. But taking it to that level of like communicating with people that are outside of the community that's right there is so much more logistics and cost, and what do you charge people to do it? How many people do you expect? What is their fee? Do they travel? Do they have expenses? Like the overhead and the logistics are just so much more. It's a next level of like financials as well as just planning and marketing that it's tough. So
For sure. And everybody has their, like Heidi, I will say Heidi and John both had their own baseline. Like they came prepared with, yes, I'll do a workshop. This is what I expect from the workshop. This. And John had a whole breakdown, like charge for mileage, charge for meals, charge for his time, you know what I mean? Like he knew exactly what to ask for, which made it very easy. And also that was a learning process for me, because then I kind of learned how to look at other workshops and how to work with other artists and making sure that we're making money bringing people to the studio, but also making sure they're getting compensated properly. So
Marvel is making a
hi, Marvel.
Marbs.
So do you also have to, do you talk with the presenters about how much to charge for it and how many seats are available? I would guess somebody like John would probably have a limit of number of seats and all of that.
We had to, generally he was going for 30. We didn't know if we could accommodate that many, but it ended up working out just fine. I think that's probably our max.
That's probably the most.
Probably our max.
Most you could fit in there.
And I just, and with Heidi, I just kind of let her know how many I thought would comfortably fit in there. With jewelry, with Becca, I just tried, I knew that it would be, everyone would kind of need a small space, so I try to fill you up and make you some money.
Yeah, and like, well,
because they could probably work off of a small square bat or something.
Right. If you're surprised at all, I had no idea how much money she was going to give me.
Because there's different things, right? Like the day rates and stuff. That's like a flat dollar fee,
right?
Versus like a percentage.
Yeah, and
of like you get a 60% of the ticket, that each ticket that gets sold or whatever,
right?
Versus travel.
Yeah, and I think that like had it been somebody that I didn't know, I probably would have been like, this is my day rate. But like I was going to their space regardless, so it was like whatever. I don't fucking care. Like charge whatever you want. Like
yeah. Do you think it was a fair price?
I would like, yes, after it filled up, but like I think that.
Was it just a flat fee or was it a per ticket?
I think that like if I'd gone to a place and I like didn't know you and all those things and like only 2 people signed up for like the throwing class, I would have been bummed.
Yeah.
That
was a percentage, Ryan.
A percentage, yeah. Because sometimes it's like, you know, do I do it like hourly? Do I want to make like $35 an hour or something for my time, or, you know, whatever. Yeah. And then it's like, how much can I make if I was making my own stuff versus teaching, and how, it's a difficult, and I'm sure there's such a range. Even the people you've talked to with the workshops, like John and Heidi, like you've worked with enough people, you probably see kind of the range of, you know, what do you pay people?
Yeah, like Tim C, his like daily minimum I think is like $1,200. Yeah. You know, it's crazy. Like his daily minimum is $1,200, and then that doesn't include flight, like lodging, food, like that stuff is on. Yeah, so it's like, and it kind of, especially when you're like not a big person, like I'm not somebody that everybody knows, so it's like,
but that's like the business. That's a way that he diversifies his business. So it's like, like that's a serious part of how he makes his money. So, right. You know, and it's a big toll on you mentally, and just the effort, and talking all day is very taxing. So
for sure.
Oh yeah, I slept so good that night.
And then whatever work you got to do to prep what you're going to do and talk about and make sure you have all the materials, and how long is it actually going to take versus like, oh, we can get this done in 3 hours. And you were saying like it could have been 4 hours.
It could have easily been 4 hours. Yeah. I thought it was going to be too little time. Or too much time. I thought I was going to get done with it, and then all these people would be like, I'm done. But it was like not like that at all. You know.
And you figure that out the more you do it, right? So like the people that have done a lot, they're like, okay, I know what questions are going to come up when I'm talking about this topic, and I know what I need to cover and what I can breeze past, what I need to leave a little room for questions, or, you know.
Yeah, and like in my workshop, there were so many different things to. Not only was there was like so many different things to do. So you could do something with a slab, or you could do it with extruding stuff. And like I made slabs before, and I extruded all the things thanks to Milissa being like, you should do this. And and it was way too much, but it was perfect. It like worked out. But like, you know, my workshop was like any level. Mm-hmm. So like I had the people that were like, I don't fucking know what I'm doing right now. Mm-hmm. Like, just making it up as they go. And was fun, but also, like, there's a lot to be said. It's like, I have these little tiny U-hooks that you need to put in your clay. And half of the people were over 50, and they couldn't even see the U-hooks. Like,
you didn't know you needed to provide the little like mirror, or the little magnifying glass thing.
They're like, Becca, how do you get this? And I'm like going around just like putting all the U-hooks in for everybody.
I'm trying to thread needles over there.
They're like, you should make those bigger. And I was like, those are twice the size of mine. Like,
they appreciated you and your help so much. I've seen so many of them wearing the earrings.
Oh, I thought
they're so proud of them.
That's so great. Like, some of them came out really great. Some of them looked awful. Some of them, but most of them looked really great. I think that, I would probably do a few things differently, a lot of things differently next time, but it was fun. And it was a great group of women to do it with, because they were all super gracious.
Had you taught the jewelry virtually or in person before?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
How would that go if it was virtual? Would you be able to do it virtually?
Yeah, if they had a kiln, I guess.
Yeah, if they run their own studios and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So have you, with like the workshop options, have you figured out, because some people I would think like, oh, this is like too niche. This is too specific of a technique or a process of like faceting forms or something, like, I don't know. Where it's like, is that like marketable to enough people that we would get enough to do it versus like?
Well, we have enough people coming in and out of the studio at this point that I'm able to kind of run ideas by people, the students, members, before offering
take
it.
the temperature on interests.
Yeah. So I keep talking about Heidi's workshop, but it just happened. So
Yeah.
I had kind of put it out there to members and explained what it was and kind of expressed my interest in it and that I was excited about it. And then I started getting people saying that they would definitely be interested. And once I got so many people that said they were interested in learning that technique, then it was a go.
Mm-hmm.
Then I just needed to get Heidi to say yes.
Right.
And then I kind of got people hyped up by saying, like, okay, we're waiting to see what she says. Okay, she said yes, she's coming. And
You know what's funny is that I was with Heidi when they were trying to get her to say yes.
Oh, so did you have to sway her a little bit? Were you all working Heidi from both sides there? Like,
we hadn't met Becca in person then, so I don't know if Becca knew what she was getting into yet.
I didn't, but I was like, just do it. And then Heidi was like, okay, but I have to make this much money. And I was like, I should have done that.
And I have to have my lunch at 11 a.m. and take my walk at 10:30 a.m. and be off by 4 p.m.
And bring her lunch and took a lunch break. She came early enough to get set up and took her lunch, and it was perfectly timed. She's great. I really love her. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love Heidi with all of my heart. She's like.
Did she bring her things to be happy about and start the workshop with that?
That would have been amazing. No, she didn't.
Okay.
No,
she needs to include that next time.
I don't know anybody that could like be in a workshop with Heidi and not just leave smiling because like first of all, her voice is like different than any other person's voice I've ever heard. And just like the way she talks is just so freaking hilarious to me and I love it so much.
Yeah, she's pretty great. We had a good time.
Yeah. And she's the sweetest. But she hates people, which is the best.
The best.
Is the best.
I don't know. After that workshop, she was talking about doing more workshops, so maybe she likes people again.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that when I went to her house, she's like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to be alone. And then at the end, she was like, maybe I do need to talk to people. And I was like, you think? Like,
I think she was kind of sad when you left.
Yeah,
right?
we all need to. Like, I think that when we work alone, we don't realize how much we need the community that we have. And
community is everything.
Yeah. And like when you work alone for a long time, you're like, I'm fine. And then you like see somebody that doesn't annoy you and like kind of understands what you're going through. Like when I went to Heidi's studio and your studio, I knew how to operate things. So it's not like somebody coming in and being like, don't touch that, you know? So you're not like
Did
worried.
you break anything?
No.
She left a lot of things
we
behind.
we have your little folding table
a Becca
too.
trail.
Oh yeah, she did say she left her table.
And caramel.
Your caramel too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who gave
And
you
a little plastic bowl.
Thistlemore gave you caramel. Yeah.
No, that was thank God I had some of it before I left it. I also left all of my frozen dinners that I put in your freezer.
And your popsicles.
And my popsicles.
You love the popsicles. Huh?
I do. But I meant to leave the popsicles. You know what's funny is that I left Teresa and Brandon's like 3 days ago and I left my laptop and then I had to go back and get it. I had to go back and get it and then I walked out and then he texted me, you left your sweatshirt. So I had to go back.
Good thing you don't have a house and you don't have more stuff.
She hands me my sweatshirt and she's like, is that everything? And I was like, yes.
You tell me.
and then Deidre saw it. Deidre, his mom saw it, who had Lloyd, and then she goes, I wrote you a list. So you have everything that you need and you don't leave anything behind.
That's my mom.
And I was like, thank you.
What else didn't you have to come back after you left? Didn't you come back here too? What was that for?
For my sweatshirt and my t-shirt.
Oh yeah, right.
And then you left your bowl.
Yeah, you come back for that plastic bowl though.
We're like,
That was from the dollar store.
Okay. Is it the Beale sweatshirt? No, the green one?
Yeah, the Beale sweatshirt. I left that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then like Oh, at Heidi's, I left my tongs, my kitchen tongs. And she's like, "Are these yours?" And I was like, "Not anymore."
Oh my god.
Like,
They're yours now.
Yeah.
I just bought new ones today.
You just leave little pieces of yourself like everywhere you're traveling.
That's
The Beck's Trail.
the Beck's Trail.
That's what they call her up here. In these parts.
Beck's.
The Beck's Trail?
Beck's.
Isn't Beck's a beer?
Is
Hey,
it
it's a Potter.
Is it BECKS?
Yeah. It's right there.
Yeah, beer.
Yeah. The green one.
Oh, it's cool looking. Ooh, it's
German.
Tastes like Heineken.
it's German. I have to put in my birthday.
Okay, don't do that.
5.
All right. Eric, I had a question. So the decision to go full time, was what was influencing that decision when you had to make that? Was that like a financial play? Was it a enjoyment play? Was it body strain? Like all of the above? Like
Definitely wasn't a financial play. But no, man,
potential for financials of like this business could be so much bigger if we had more time of yours.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know what it comes down to, man. You've only got so much time, and I was just miserable at my day job. Just hated it, just hated it. And before I knew it, I would have been there 20 years, and I just couldn't imagine doing any more days. And really, the day that I quit, Melissa and I didn't even talk about it. I just quit. I just went in there and I was like, I quit. I'm leaving. And that was the end of that.
I mean, we had talked about
we knew
it
it
for
was
a
coming,
long
but we didn't
time.
have like
Yeah.
a set
hard
day.
plan in mind for the day and the
Well, there were some things that like lined up, and I was like, okay, whenever you're ready. And you just kind of were like, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, so you just
Ready.
so you all discussed it, and then you were like, okay, I'm leaving it up to you because at the end of the day, if you're not comfortable with it, then
Yeah, like you decide for yourself.
Yeah, and then I just quit. So
how many
But I
days
mean-
was that? Was that like 2 days? You were like, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a week, maybe a
Wow,
week.
really?
But it had been like the plan, like the plan to buy this place and have a bigger studio, like the growth had been years in planning,
I mean, we remodeled that barn in like a month.
Yeah.
Just
Like like 6 weeks.
just went to town on it, man.
Wow. And you were did you have to do a lot of the work and stuff to do that as well? Or was it you contracted out all the stuff and you were still working and
No, just the electric and the plumbing we contracted out, and then we did everything else.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind.
So were there decisions throughout that period while you're still working that you were like, oh, like, Melissa's saying, hey, can we do this? And you're like figuring out like in your time frame of what you have available, you're like, okay, like, can I get that done? And you have to say no. And then you're like, okay, well, what else can we do instead? Like,
Hey, you don't really tell Melissa no. You just find the time to do it. Just make it happen. So.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we both had a pretty good vision. I mean, there's a few things that we disagreed about, and then she got her way, I had to get my way, and that's just how it goes, man. Just a lot of work. I'm glad it's done. You don't have to do it again until we add on to this thing.
Yeah, like I really wanted an atrium added to the east side of the building.
She tried to convince me to put a greenhouse up.
Out of the east wing of campus, you had a greenhouse.
That's where I wanted my production work to go on, was in the greenhouse. We compromised on glass doors for the barn.
Yeah, no greenhouse, glass doors for the barn.
Do you hear that?
What is it?
Open the door. Oh.
It's Erica.
Hi, friends.
Hi.
How you guys doing?
She's
I'm
doing
great.
How
How are
you doing?
Good.
She was doing a little call there.
What are you working on, Erica?
Yes.
Oh my god, I thought you guys were done.
I thought that's why you did it, because we were still talking.
God, no, she texted me.
I said, do the sheep.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Do it one time so we can hear it.
All right. For the listeners, just a special little treat.
Don't look at her.
And don't look
Don't
at
look
don't
at
look
her.
at me. Don't look at me. Okay.
We were graced with that while we were visiting Amish country at Jesse's for Michiana Power Tour, and it was great.
And you can like hear Melissa in the background of the video. They're like, wow, you're really good at that.
The best. Thanks, Erica.
You're welcome, friends. Anything for you guys. God, hell yeah. All right, well, back to weighing stuff.
Thanks, Erica.
Oh god.
All right. I had a question for Melissa. Did you notice a shift in Eric? Have you like pre full time, now pottery full time?
Night and day, Ryan. He's living his best life. Like quality of life enhanced by a million. Different guy. He's like he's back to the guy that I met in that hole in the wall pottery studio 20 some years ago. Happy as a clam.
Is it like what is it I don't know, I'm trying to think. Is it more like he seemed like he was overworked and just like pushing it so hard and just doing everything he could versus
Well,
like,
you have to understand, like, for most of raising our kids, he worked at that steel mill, and the job that he had was so demanding, and it was so dirty, and it was physically and mentally exhausting. And, you know, that was our livelihood. And quite often it was held over his head. Like if he said no to overtime or said no to weekend work, then he didn't know early on if he would have a job, you know, like.
Oh yeah, they would get rid of guys for not only working 50, 55 hours a week. They'd get you fired.
So there was a time when, like, I think you talked about this on your burnout episode, where you mentioned you didn't want to have to say no to go to picnics or, you know, kids' birthdays or whatever, send Rachel on her own. That's exactly how we lived our lives, and it was terrible. He missed so many things.
Yeah, we were on call too, so you know, besides all the hours, you just would get called in the middle of the night or holidays,
and
all the time.
I mean, he did his best to kind of make it all work. He tried to coach Little League and was president of the board for a little while for the kids, vice president of the board for the Little League, and, you know, tried to spend as much time as he could, but it was exhausting and draining, and he just hated it. And the more time went on, the more, I mean,
I'm the happiest motherfucker in the world now, Ryan.
That's good to hear, man.
I mean, we get to spend the whole goal. Like, family means everything to us, and we're tight with our parents, with our brothers and sisters, and an extended family. But our immediate family, I mean, our kids mean the world to us, and to be able to gain that time with them before they're all up and out of the house has been so precious. Like, it's been worth
it.
Interact
with you anymore, yeah. And you're like, oh, I wish I had that time when you.
No, they're the cool parents.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think our kids think that.
Does that mean they're gonna stick around a while and you're gonna have to like shove them out?
I mean,
we're there on one of them right now.
He's currently saving and shopping for a house, so maybe by spring we'll see. But I mean, I like that they're all here together for just this. I know that we're in like this bubble of time that is not going to last very long, you know, and everybody's relationships are definitely stronger right now, growing because of it. So
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got to work. It's awesome to make your own conditions and, you know,
right.
work at your own house.
Well, and it helps, like the kids got on board pretty early, like once we got everything built. I would say the transition over here and like
We whipped them into shape during the remodel. Just
Every-
slaved them away, man.
they were exhausted and they didn't really know like what to expect, but once everything started running here, then they started like getting more involved, and that has made all the difference, is having them involved and on board. So
do they actually like do work, like they're making things, or is it just like lending a hand when you need help to do something around the studio or the house?
Oh, Ollie's with us every day. He works
Right.
5 days a week, and he's all over it. Mila, our youngest, is she's really talented, and there's place for her. However, she is on the debate team, which is nonstop. I had no idea when it is, but debate is nonstop.
Just give y'all some good topics to debate in the studio or something? Is it like,
It's hard to debate against her now. She's getting good.
She's very good.
yeah, it's just her time is occupied by debate, and it's almost heavy debate season. But she's uber talented. She has been drawing since she was little and has just developed a really great skill for it. But she's also one of those super creative people.
She's working on some decals for us right now.
Yeah, and she's got ADD just like I do, so you can't push her, you know? She has to come up with the ideas, and I don't want to stifle her creativity, so I don't push with her super hard. But I would say, but all three of the kids are there to help us whenever we need it. Like they stepped up big time to help with the party and they help get ready for workshops, and I mean, all three of them help pretty well.
Nice.
Yeah.
How was the getting more comfortable financially with it when you made that jump, and then you're like, okay, like this is going to be a little bit of a
some months are terrifying, man.
Yeah, like really scary. But we've taken on a ton of overhead. That's the scariest part.
Yeah, the studio is expensive. We put a lot of money into it.
Mm-hmm. But for the most part, we have a steady stream of people.
Yeah, things are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of keeping it going.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably tough when you've got to like shift home, so that's like a new house payment, or maybe you owned your house before, and then you got to like, okay, now you got to invest a whole bunch of money overhead to build this structure.
The hardest thing for me to manage the finances is going from a good, steady paycheck to not.
Right. Wildly unpredictable incomes. Sometimes you make a ton of money, sometimes you don't.
With the batch work, I can kind of plan, like for things to happen at a certain time, to be of benefit to us. But it is still different from having a weekly paycheck to going from having one big monthly drop. So it's been a big adjustment.
The classes are kind of the thread that ties it all together. They keep the income, a steady income coming in. It's predictable.
Right. Yeah, I would suspect, because it's just so like, okay, we can fill 12 people for X number of weeks, and then that maybe 4 is the capacity of classes in a week, and then you can kind of count on that.
But then that takes away production time. And it's not so much just the class time, it's the prepping for the classes, the cleaning, get everything ready. That's really what burns up the time.
Yeah, something that I didn't consider, like trying to balance production work and classes, is that usually when we're in heavy batch production, I have everything set out. So when I'm painting, it all happens in stages. So I'll set out 20 mugs that I'm doing this way and another 20 mugs that I'm doing this way, work on it a little bit to, the first day, the second day I come back and do certain layers of painting. But with classes, I have to do a little bit, put it all away, bring it all back out the next day. You know what I mean?
You don't have dedicated spaces for each of you to do your own thing.
Yes.
Right.
That's why. Oh, go on.
I was just going to say in the new year, that's definitely a goal, is to rearrange a space for me to just leave my production work where it sits.
Yeah, maybe one day even leave the photo booth stuff out.
Oh, that would
Oh,
be.
man.
Oh my fucking God, the photo booth. We took photos for the entire day. It was awful.
Yep.
I don't see how Kurt does it. Kurt Hammerly does like 10,000 photos in a drop or whatever. I don't even know what it is, but it's
He
just
gives himself time, though. That's something that I haven't quite mastered, is to give myself enough time for the amount of things that we're putting out. Like I usually only give myself 3 days, and that's just not enough time.
Oh, because you put a date on the calendar like 2 weeks out when you're glazing or something, and then you're like, okay, this is our date, this is what we got, and then you're like, okay, we'll figure out the fill in the gaps of.
I need to have like a whole week of taking pictures.
There's always one or two kiln loads that just don't even get photographed. You know, they get pushed off to the next update or sent out to a shop or something.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say that when I had my studio, I ended up making like, even, it was like the smallest studio. It was like 6 feet wide by like maybe 20, maybe 12. It was not very big, as far as a little space is concerned, but I did that at the latter half of the studio, and it changed the way that I made stuff so significantly because I didn't have to put anything away. And I didn't have to like move things for classes and stuff. I could just leave them there. It was like the best.
And you're facing a wall, so you're like focused versus being in a studio setting where you're probably the head of the table and you can see the rest of the studio in front of you. Or
like it was like the size of it was a little bit longer, but like the size of where your kilns are.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just face the wall the whole time, and it was fucking great.
Like you were in in-house detention or something.
Yes.
So have y'all had to make decisions of like, okay, maybe we should try this thing or do this form because we need more sales of this item, or, quantities of, what's possible for Eric to produce versus like, okay, what haven't we had in a bit, so maybe we bring this back, or
Yeah, we're always looking at the flow of things. In fact, we're just talking about, what our holiday updates are going to look like and what things to bring back and make for that. We're always changing and trying to keep it fresh.
Right, and at the same time, we're growing, so the numbers of things we produced in previous years isn't sufficient. So we have to up the numbers while we're, adding extra forms and stuff. It's unfair that you have to sleep every day. Like, if just like every other day, I'd get so much more done.
You probably skip meals, don't you? You probably like are making and doing stuff, and you're like,
Ryan, I'm like a lion, dude. I eat one meal a day.
Really?
Yeah.
Becca's
Except when Bex was over here, we ate a lot. We took a lot of breaks too.
Okay, are you standing and throwing, or are you sitting and throwing?
I'm sitting. Yeah.
Okay.
I never made the jump, man. You throw standing up, don't you?
Yeah. When you were working in the mill, were you mostly doing standing or sitting, or I would guess you're standing probably, but
Yeah, I was out in the field with the guys. The last decade of that, I was supervision, but so I wasn't climbing like I used to, but I was still out there, lending a hand.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like when you have like a standing sort of job like that, going back and like standing more to throw just seems like awful.
Yeah, that's probably why I sit for a living, to be on a computer, and then I stand to throw, but I don't know.
You find like when you're like 10, 12, or 14 inches tall, you find it's hard to stay stable standing?
He doesn't make stuff that tall.
No, I don't make anything. I don't usually throw anything with more than like 4 pounds of clay, but most of my stuff is under 2 pounds of clay.
Yeah, so Eric's making a lot. I think when you're making taller stuff like that, it makes sense to have a throwing, like a short wheel. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't make anything that large generally. Mostly for time, as well as for me, it's always been hard to justify making something that big when I can make X number of things that equal that price. But also, I'm not comfortable pricing higher things, of like throwing $300 on something and being like, that's what it is. Like, financially, never made sense to me to do that versus like just make a few more mugs or oil bottles that equal that price that I would sell at retail.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I would suspect like a huge canvas for Milissa to use is just like opens the doors for what is possible.
Yeah, they're definitely attention getters, man, but they're hard to move when they have a lot of square inches to cover, you know. It's a lot of time.
Yeah, that vase that we had at Milissa Pottery Tour, that had been here since last year. That was that was too much work, priced way too high. It didn't move.
Didn't have a market for it.
Yeah, we did cookie jars, and I did partly stripes on them. But like I combined the stripes with the woodlands that take a lot more work, and we put a hefty price on those, and we had no trouble selling those.
Yeah, you just never know.
Yeah.
What's the price difference on like an exact same form that's like the stripe work or the black, just straight black lines versus the woodland work that's highly decorative and highly colored?
So I'll use tumblers as an example. So we do like a little wine tumbler, and if they're decorated with woodlands, I charge $95 for those, and if they're decorated with stripes, I do $65.
And then are there simple ones that have sprayed glazes also in that same form?
Yeah.
And we haven't done them in a while, but yeah, sprayed or dipped.
And those usually go for
somewhere in the 20s.
Those.
Yeah.
The littler ones go for 20, yeah. But the taller tumblers that we had, we were doing for 45 with the 5 sprayed glazes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 45, 65, 95 kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You just started doing the sprayed glazes in the last little bit?
Well, when we got the studio set up, we bought a spray booth, so it's, within the last year we've been messing with it.
Did that open you all up for just a different customer base with the price point, or just the aesthetics are just different than, it's more, rest for the eyes versus highly decorative, highly detailed stuff?
A little of both. There's people that just are hitting that lower price point, and we just want to have something to offer. Mm-hmm. And I think it's neat. I think it's cool, and there's some other stuff I want to do with it. So it's just another tool that we're just working on.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
After that workshop with John, there's some glazes that we're going to be dipping that I want to run through and do a little bit more testing, but you'll probably see a lot more of that coming up for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Does he do a lot with spraying versus dipping versus brushing? And
he doesn't talk about anything but dipping during his workshop.
Yeah. There's so many facets of glazing that it's like, you only can cover so much, but yeah.
I feel like he only dips.
I just feel like it's the most efficient way to do it. But I mean, if you got a process down, I feel like spraying could also be where it's at.
It's slower though. I mean, dipping is by far the fastest.
Well, the thing with spraying is that cool effects happen when you layer multiple glazes.
Yeah, thin layers of multiple glazes, so you get some neat stuff.
Yeah, so that's the thing that takes time.
Or even dipping in a glaze and then spraying a modifier over just a portion of it after is nice to have that ability.
Yeah.
So have you all had to adjust pricing very much now that, maybe you can produce higher throughput, but, how did the demand shift, or did it shift as you could produce more work?
I would say the last half of this year has been slower than the last half of last year. I'm not sure if everybody's feeling that, but we're selling more pieces, but a year ago with our smaller updates, we would sell out, if not in that first night, by morning, there'd be nothing left on the website. All the good stuff would be gone in 15 minutes, and then the stragglers would go overnight.
We've had a lot of changes, though. Like the changes in our views on our socials have changed. Like Instagram used to be our primary, and then Facebook was just kind of a secondary backup. And now that we've seen a huge shift in that this year, where Facebook, which is more of our local followers, I would say, it's just growing really fast, and then Instagram has slowed down quite a bit for us this year. So I would say that that's probably due to all the changes that we've had in this past year. I went from posting a lot of close-up pictures of just my work. I mean, you can see it in our feed too. Our squares changed from our work to pictures of people talking about workshops. Like Instagram doesn't care about our workshops at all or about classes. Like they could care less. Our customer base there. And so we've seen that shift for sure.
Mm-hmm. And y'all are still doing quite a bit of variation of single photos, carousel photos, some reels. You
Yeah,
are having more
I'm
people.
not great with reels. I like the carousel. That's my go-to.
Yeah. And that would make sense from my understanding of where those social media platforms put focus. Like reels are going to get more focus on Instagram, pictures,
Yeah.
and those are going to get more focus on Facebook.
Yep.
So you're not catering the posts based on the platform, and you're not posting two different.
I hadn't been. I would say within the past few months, I stopped posting so much about classes and workshops on my page on Instagram, and I'll post them to my stories rather with links to workshops because I feel like people interact with those more. On Facebook is where I really push classes and workshops and that kind of thing.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, there's so many different ways that you can go about it, so it's hard to just copy and paste and say, okay, I'm going to do exactly what this person's doing. And the tone and like what you're talking about, like I post a ton of stories, but like some people would think that I get a ton of views on them. I get maybe 500 views on a good day.
Right, and I post a lot of stories and I get like 700 to 800 views on my stories. Like,
yeah.
Well, it depends. Like I haven't been very active, but like when I'm more active, I will get like twice the amount he does on his stories, but he has like 3 times the amount of followers.
It's really nuts. Some days we'll do as little as like between 200 and 300 views on our stories. One day I posted a picture of my dishwasher with all the butts of our own pots, and it got like 1,200 views.
And that was your story.
Yeah, just my story.
See,
we were like, what's going on?
There's gotta be an algorithm of like how they look at the analytics of how, because it's just whether you watch it or not. Maybe it's like watch time, and then maybe they're gonna funnel you up closer to the front of people's story feed, or like number of people that like exit out of it, or like click forward. I mean, I watch stories quickly. I just tap forward through a lot of them just to get the gist.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. That was just a photo, probably, if it was the mug in the.
Yeah, just a photo. So weird. Well, also like the way that I interact with Instagram has changed so much too. So when Eric worked at the mill, I was getting up with him. He would wake up I was up at 5:00 and I was starting to write my posts at 5:00. So by 6:00 they were posted. And so I was getting like the whole crew that was getting ready for work or before school, you know what I mean? And so I would get views then and then throughout that mid-morning. And now everything is so different. I don't post until mid-afternoon, which is a horrible time to post. And I don't know. Our content is a lot different. We've just had a lot of shifts. So I feel like we'll get it figured out, but it's not Instagram.
Yeah, I've found lately it's been the bottom of my list. So I post like every 3 or 4 days now because I'm like, I don't have the energy to, like, I have the content, but I don't, the time and effort it takes to produce the content and put it together nicely. Like that is a full-time job for people. Like,
it is. It really is. And how people that schedule their posts, that's amazing. I'm not that person.
Crazy.
Yeah, I guess they batch it and, picking a day to focus like 2 hours just to do it. Like I consume so much on there that I'm like, I need to not consume as much and produce. And then maybe that would help. But yeah, not enough time in the day. If only we didn't have to sleep, Eric.
I know, man. That's what I've been saying. Totally unfair.
There's something about this. We need to like play, if you could plug yourself in, get a little recharge, like a battery pack that's like power charge, supercharge.
I mean, let's just start working on like a 32-hour daily cycle. So we'll stay awake for 20 hours, take a few hours off, get a nap, stay awake for 20 more hours.
I don't operate like that at all. I need a lot more rest than he does.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's insane.
Okay. So holidays coming up. Do y'all have any new forms or anything specific you're doing, or y'all just cranking away?
So we do
Style.
some ideas where we usually do a ton of holiday trees. Those are big sales for us in these coming months. Last year, I think that we did about 400 trees. This year, we're shooting for 600. We're changing up the clay body, changing up glazes a little bit.
Okay,
And
I see 'em. So it's like it's a triangle, and then you all carve it and you put the holes in it. So it's
Yep.
kind of like luminary.
Yeah.
And then we're going to try to marry our two styles that we have going on. So we'll see what that looks like.
I'm excited for that.
So instead of it being a luminary, you're going to draw on it?
No, just like our production line. Instead of having like the
Gonna lean a
6-0.
little bit into the decals a little more too.
Yeah. And maybe some raised slip work on my end under his pretty glazes.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Hey, Ryan liked our post.
I did. I was looking at the trees right now. I've been liking a bunch of the posts in here. All right. Any last things, Becca? What you got? What did I miss?
Nothing. I was just thinking while I was listening that Ryan would be like a really good Joe Rogan of pottery because he's a really good interviewer.
Yeah, you are.
Take
This
it.
has been fun. I was nervous, but
Oh, we're in
guys
the
made it
market
easy.
for some celebrity judges for an event this summer.
Oh yeah.
So maybe you guys
What's
come
the
up.
event?
So we're planning a summer camp for potters in 2024.
Oh, it sounds competitive. I like it.
So we wanna do a lot of things. First and foremost, we want everyone to have their own aprons and earn badges through the week, like camp badges. And we want to have like great pottery throwdown kind of style. So
That sounds fun.
I'm trying to talk John Britt into coming back to be a judge. He told me that he would like a large hammer. And I asked him if that was the smash pieces that he disapproved of, or if he meant a gavel.
He'll take a hammer. I'll take a baseball bat. I would like to do the baseball bat.
I'll just throw him on the ground.
In the pit of despair.
Yes.
So.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I always like the throwing competitions. Like I think Kentucky Mudworks had one when they like did a grand opening or something. It was like blindfolded and you throw as high as you can, like 5 pounds of clay, and you judge the tallest one or whatever.
Those are the kind of events we need.
Yeah.
Or like 1 pound of clay and you got to throw as tall of a cylinder as possible.
Me and Eric didn't even get to we didn't even throw against each other.
We didn't do a lot of things. We didn't get to dance with the glow sticks.
Yeah.
You didn't get to throw. I feel like
we threw a lot though. We threw quite a bit.
We threw a lot, but I would have liked to see who would have won in like a 2 pound or a 1 pound cup.
Okay.
I don't know if you'd like it.
Some shit talk.
Okay, Mr. Oh yeah, I'm throwing 1 vase for every 2 of Becca's.
It was more like 4 for every 5, but whatever.
Be good fun.
Yeah. I feel like I picture you coming to visit and Eric's just sitting at the wheel just making, and you're just like, oh hey, there's Eric over there. He's working, he's making stuff. Hey, how's it going?
Happy place, man. It is definitely my happy place.
Someday I think the plan will eventually be to buy land up there. I wanted to buy land in Otis, on Otis Road.
There's an Otis Road too?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of perfect, right?
I know. My mom was like, is this a sign or something? And I was like, obviously.
Nice.
All right, do it.
But, well, my dad said that it's not the right time.
Yeah.
Save up those pennies.
Yeah, he said to wait for the recession that's coming.
And nickels and dimes.
I was like, great, will do. So excited.
So excited to own property again?
No, to be in a recession.
Oh, okay.
I'm not excited for
No,
that.
that's not great.
Nobody's excited for that.
It's hard because it's like, oh, make hay while the sun's shining kind of thing. It's like make as much as you can so that we can get through the holidays, and because we don't know what's coming, but
Yeah.
also don't know what the holidays are gonna be like. So it's like, are people gonna spend as much or not? Or
I think to be as consistent as possible, and that's the best way you can do it. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, we appreciate your all's time. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having
your
us on.
insights. And people can find you Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. You want to spell it out just so they know how to spell Beale.
Beale Pottery. B as in boy. E-A-L-E.
I thought you were gonna do like E as in Edgar.
That's what was going on too.
A is in antelope.
L as in loser. E as in entrepreneur.
Pottery.
Pottery.
All right, Milissa, Eric, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks,
And
guys.
we'll talk to you all later.
Yep.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye, Bex.
Bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening to another episode of Wheel Talk. This podcast is made possible through the contributions of all of our listeners who always ask us great questions, leave us reviews, and contact with us through social media. Thanks to all the fellow makers as well who take time to be interviewed and share about their lives and businesses.
And thank you to Ashley from Boldover Ceramics and Lindy from Lindy Garner Ceramics for their assistance on the Wheel Talk Podcast Instagram. You are invaluable. Thank you to everybody.